Hello and welcome to the webinar for the photo module. Please be sure to follow along using the quick sheets in folder 28 Photos. The first item we're going to cover is how to upload photos from photographers. In order to do this, you need either a disk of photos in which the file name is the student ID or staff ID, or you need a file name in a cross-reference file. If your photos are too large, you may resize the images using a program that we have provided. Simply click on the link and you will be directed to our file download. You may run the file and follow the setup wizard. The IMRE window displays. Select the option to resize multiple images and then browse to locate the images that need to be resized. Then select a destination in which to place the resized images. You may create a new folder to place those images by clicking the Make New Folder button. Enter the width and height in the units. Our recommendation is 75 by 100 pixels. Select the image type if you are not using images that have a JPEG extension. Then click Process. Once the process is complete, the images will be ready for import into SysK12. The types of files that may be used to upload photographs may be where the file names are the student IDs, or if the file names are something other than student IDs, then you must have a cross-reference file. The file name and student ID are required fields. The student's last name, first name, grade, and date of birth are optional fields, but the column headings must be there. Your photographer should provide this cross-reference file for you, and you will have to verify the presence of the column headings, as well as ensure that this is a tab-delimited text file. The next step is to ensure you have the latest version of Java Runtime installed. Click on the link and download the program. The message I'm seeing indicates that I already have the necessary software. Now we're ready to upload photos. Click Management, Import and Export, Import Picture, Photo, Cross-Reference File Names. Select whether the file name is the student or the faculty staff ID, or whether the file name is in a cross-reference file. Then select whether you're importing student pictures or faculty staff pictures, then click Add Files. First I'll show if the file name is the student or faculty staff ID. When I click Add Files, I need to locate my student pictures, highlight all by using Ctrl-A and click Open. Then Upload Files. Once the import is complete, the audit report from Photo Import screen displays account for the number of processed files, the number of imported files, and details on the files processed. In addition, the user-defined field of photo taken date is updated. Now I'll show the process if the file name is in a cross-reference file. When you select this option, the screen refreshes. Browse to locate the cross-reference file, and then click Continue. Then add files to be uploaded. Again, I can use Ctrl-A to highlight all files in a folder and click Upload Files. The Audit Report from Photo Import screen displays a count for the number of processed files, the number of imported files, and details on the files processed. Again, the user-defined field Photo Taken Date is updated in the student's user-defined area. Or if you're updating faculty staff photos, the same field, Photo Taken Date, is updated in the faculty staff record. The next thing we'll cover is photo rosters. Photo rosters may be printed from the student data grid or from the attendance roster. You can access the student data grid in several different ways, one of which is using this Display Rosters icon on the home screen. And you can also access the attendance roster from this screen and print the photo roster from there. So I'll go ahead and access this PE class and click the Display Roster icon here. I'm seeing the students who are listed in the class, and I see what the class number is, who it's taught by, etc. Now from my Actions menu, in the Reports menu, we have the option for photo rosters. And I would want to verify the date printed on the report and the report title. Now this is a perfect time for me to include the name of the teacher, the name of the class, and what period it's taught, and click Start Report. Student names and grades and photos are displayed alphabetically from left to right. So as you can see, Douglas Cage, Paul Camden, Timothy Clarkson, Calvin Damone. It goes left to right alphabetically, and you can have up to 22 students per page. From here, you may save or print the report. The next way we can access this photo roster is from the attendance roster. So I'll go ahead and go in the same class again. When I'm on the attendance roster screen, I can actually show student photos as I'm taking attendance. So that's very handy in the first few days of school, first few weeks of school. And in addition to that, I can print my photo roster from the Actions menu here. Again, I see my SIS reporting screen. I would probably put in the name and teacher's name and period and what other information you want to use to describe that class, and click Start Report. Our next thing we're going to cover is the photo seating chart. The seating chart may also be accessed from the attendance roster. Simply click the seating chart icon right here. Now since I'm logged in as an admin user, I get an error message that the class does not have a seating chart, and then I don't have access to creating it here. These fields are disabled. So in order to display this, I'm going to go ahead and log in as a teacher. And let's say Mr. Mathman wants to create a seating chart for his Algebra 2 class. So I'll go ahead and access the attendance roster for this class. And then I'll click the seating chart icon. And I get the error message too that the class does not have a seating chart. However, I have access to these fields here. So I can put in the number of rows that are in my classroom and the number of seats per row, and click this green button, Reset Seating Chart. Now I can see here that I have 22 students in the class, so I'm going to go ahead and make it 5 rows. And what you're looking for here is basically that the teacher's desk is down in this area down here. Now if I'm having trouble viewing the full seating chart once I start placing pictures on here, then I can view just the seating chart without photos, and then I'm only seeing names. And that conserves a little bit of space. I can also view just the names with the photos, and when I do that, I do not have those fields at the top that allow me to modify the seating chart, or I can just view names without photos. I'm going to go ahead and do a seating chart without photo, and what I'm going to do is just highlight a cell that I want to place this first student in. Notice this first student is already highlighted. Once the student is highlighted and the cell is highlighted, I click this button to place the selected student into current seating grid cell, and that student has been placed. I pick the cell for my next student and proceed in that fashion. Now, if I want to be viewing students' pictures as I'm going through this, I can certainly do that as well. And notice that the seating chart expands in order to accommodate those pictures. So here's a completed seating chart, and let's say I want to move a couple of students around. What I'm going to have to do is highlight a student and then unplace that student. So in my Actions menu is Unseat One Current Student. That moves him out of the seating chart grid and over to the left. And let's say I want to move that student over here in his spot. So I'll go ahead and unseat that student. I'll move my first student to his place and move my second student over here. The next thing I can do is I can print the seating chart. And because I had the pictures being displayed on the previous screen, it'll display the pictures on the seating chart that I'm printing. And of course from here I can save or print the seating chart. The last thing I want to talk about is if I want to remove all students and start over, I can clear the seating chart from my Actions menu. In addition to being able to access the seating chart from my attendance roster, I also have that same capability if I'm looking at the gradebook for this class. It takes me to the exact same screen and I have all of the exact same functions. Okay, the next thing we're going to cover in our photo module is the Photo ID Designer. So I'm going to log back in as the admin user, and the Photo ID Designer is accessed from the Utilities menu, Photos and Photo IDs, and then Photo ID Designer. You can custom design ID badges. Now your SysK12 is loaded with 3 layouts, default layouts. You'll have 1 faculty staff layout and 2 student layouts, 1 in portrait and 1 in landscape. And it doesn't look exactly like this last one I have here. This one's been played around with. So you can alter the badges that are created for you. In order to create a new badge though, you'd click the Add button. In order to alter a badge that's there, you'll click the View icon. And then you'll click your Edit button. So right now, this one is set as a template. It is not, the checkbox for draft is not created. And I'm looking at a faculty staff badge, and right now it is identified for all sites. If I want to specify this badge for one particular building, I can do that here in the site drop-down list. And then I can give my badge a layout name, a description. I can identify whether this is going to be printed dual-sided or not. If it is dual-sided, I can choose to print only the photo on the back, or I can do the full layout on front and back. Then if I want to include the photo or not, a logo or graphic, and a watermark. Over here is a list of all of the things I want to include on that photo ID. So where I want to position the photo, I would want to select that from this drop-down list right here. I can position it up or down here, left or right here, and then I can widen that or shrink it. Now when I increase the width, it's going to increase the height proportionally. I can do that with any of these items that are in my drop-down list, and I can add additional text that I want to be displayed on this photo ID and click Go. Now that I've added that text, it's located at the top. See, it's one from the top, one from the left, and its width is automatically the width of my photo ID badge. I can change the font of that Tigers that I put in there. I can change the text size. I can change the alignment, the foreground color and the background color. I can also make it bold, italics, or underlined. If I need to remove that Tigers that's there, I've got to make sure Tigers is up here, and I can just delete it or edit it. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is what you're going to see when you add a brand new badge. You don't see all of those fields right away. So first of all, I want to select whether this is for faculty, staff, or students, and which site this is for, and what grade level this is for. I'm going to give it a layout name and a description. Then I'm going to tell SysK12 whether this is a portrait or a landscape, and click Continue. So now I see the option to save it as a draft or not. If I uncheck that box, then this is the template that's going to be used for all 9th grade students at Edwards High School. I can elect whether it's a dual-sided printer or not, like we did before, and I can include a logo or graphic and a watermark. Now if I select logo graphic, I need to browse and find a logo or graphic that I want to use, and then apply that logo or graphic over here. As soon as I apply that, it's going to add it to my list here. Now the logo is basically right on the top of my picture because they're both one from the top, one from the left, and they're both 75 wide. So if I want to move it, now that logo is identified in my drop-down list, I can just arrow it, or if I want to go a little faster than that, I can type in a number and hit go. And it's going to move it. If I'm using the arrows, it always moves it 5 units at a time. And let's say I want this logo a little bit bigger. When I increase the width, it increases the height proportionally. Now watermark is something that can be used for a background color as well for the whole photo ID badge. So if you'd like your badge to have a background color, you're going to need to save an image of that background color and then add the image as the watermark. Then of course you can move that around, etc. So let's say I want to add text now. So I want to say that this is a student badge. I want that to show up on all students' badges. It displays up there at the top, so let's say I want it to be, okay, I want student down there, and let's say I also want data to be added. I want the student's state ID barcoded. Alright, if I'm done with my ID badge at this time, I can be done. But you can also add, students' names. You can add their homeroom teacher, all kinds of good stuff there. Now this 9th grade student ID badge at Edwards High School is not a draft, so it will automatically be selected anytime I print badges for 9th grade students at Edwards. If I need to create another ID badge, I can do so now by clicking the Add button. If I need to modify one of the existing ID badges, I can do so now by clicking the View icon. And if I want to create another badge for 10th graders, let's say, using much of the same criteria, I can use this Copy button. I'm going to modify what I've copied and change this to a 10th grade badge, and I'm going to call it 10th grade, and then make any changes that I need to make and click Done. Now notice that when you copy an ID badge, it's automatically marked as a draft. So if I need to mark this as the template to be used, I want to go in and click my view icon and then edit that draft status. Another thing I can do from this screen is delete a badge template that I'm not going to need anymore. So I can just click the trash can icon in the appropriate row and then click OK that yes, I definitely want to delete that. The next thing we're going to talk about is printing photo IDs. We're going to go Utilities, Photos and Photo IDs, and then Print Photos, Student Badge or Faculty Staff Badge. I'll go ahead and do the student badge first. And what I have to do when I'm selecting the student badge is select which grade level I'm going to be printing for. If I want to print for all students with a photo ID print date blank, and that's looking at the student's user-defined screen, it's going to look just for students who have never had a photo ID printed. I can also check the box to print students with photo take date greater than photo print date, so that's going to just print the new students that I've recently uploaded or taken pictures manually for. If I uncheck both of these boxes, it's going to print IDs for all students of the selected grade level, including students without photos. Now here's a great example of needing a good graphic. Notice that that graphic is a little too small. So this photo ID printed for all students. I've got 61 students in the appropriate grade level in 9th grade, and I can print those now. Now, even though I haven't clicked that print icon there, photo ID print date and photo print count have been updated in each of those students' user-defined screen. So here's my first 9th grader in my list. And notice his photo print date and photo count have been updated. Next, we'll print a batch of faculty IDs. And I've got the same options. Do I want to print faculty staff with photo ID print date blank, or do I want to just print the new photos that have been taken? If I uncheck both, it'll print all faculty and staff, even faculty staff without IDs. And here's an example of an ID with a background color. Now, one thing to note about barcodes is that you must have the barcode font 3 of 9 or 39. And when badges are printed, the actual data may take up more or less room than the field name. So it is highly recommended to do a print preview and scroll through your badges to make sure you don't have any that are going to be printed wrong. Another thing is, if you are using dual-sided, there are 3 areas in which to verify those settings. First of all, you have the dual-sided printer box on the Photo ID Designer screen. Then when printing the badges, you're going to want to make sure to select the duplex print option on the print options screen, and also check that the dual-sided printing option on your printer is turned on. Now, once these faculty staff ID badges are printed to this display report screen, their faculty records are updated also. Notice the photo ID print date and photo print count are updated. Next, let's talk about setup for using camera. The first thing you want to do is change how Internet Explorer uses XML. And our first method, option 1, is our recommended option. You can just click on the link and allow access, and then download the version that's appropriate for your computer. And you can contact your technology coordinator to find out which version to download. If you click on the wrong one, it's not that big of a deal. It'll take you through the run options and then it'll tell you that you've picked the wrong one. And once you complete that, you're done with that step. Then we want to update your security settings. So in your Tools menu, under Internet Options, you want to select Security and then click on Custom Level. Under ActiveX Controls, you're going to enable binary and script behaviors. Then you're going to enable Run ActiveX Controls and Plugins, and you're going to enable Script ActiveX Controls marked safe for scripting. You can also prompt those last two I mentioned. Then under Miscellaneous, you're going to enable access data sources across domains, and you're going to enable display mixed content. Then under Scripting, you're going to enable active scripting. And you can set this to prompt as well, but it's going to cause a lot of prompts, so you probably want to set it to enable. Then you'll click OK, and then you want to set your browser history settings. So same place, we're going to be in Tools, Internet Options, and then this time we want the General tab. And in the Browsing History section, we want to click on the Settings button. Under Check for newer versions of stored pages, we're going to select every time I visit the web page. Then if you're also using the 910, 920 series cameras, there are a couple of extra steps. You'll want to log into the web administration panel for the camera and enter the camera IP address in a web browser. And then click the Maintenance tab and disable the user access control. And that'll just make sure that you're not asked for your username and password each time you're accessing the camera in SysK12. You only need to do that step once, and you do not need to do it on every machine. Now, if you don't follow these security settings, you're going to have some problems when you're trying to access the camera. So next we'll go ahead and take photos. Now the camera is a network camera, and it comes with an installation CD. So once you're done with that installation CD, you're ready to start taking photos of students. You'll click on the Student Data Links drop-down list and select Photo ID. Then type in the student's name and verify the camera type and camera ID. If either of these is incorrect, you can type in the camera ID and click Update Camera ID, or see the quick reference sheet set up for using camera. Once the student is positioned correctly in front of the camera, click Take Photo. The screen refreshes with the student's image displayed and additional buttons enabled. Use your mouse, drag the crop box around the student, and click Crop and Save. A prompt displays, letting you know that the photo has been saved. The field Photo Taken Date is updated in the student's user-defined area. Now if you don't like this image and you want to take a new one, simply click View Camera and then take the photo again. Once you're satisfied with the picture, then you can just click Done to exit. Next thing we'll talk about is importing a photo for one student in particular. I'll want to select Import Image File, and locate the file of the student I'm importing. So this can be done if you have some other camera that doesn't work with SysK12. But you just want to be aware of how much space photos are taking up on your server. If you're using a camera other than the SYS recommended camera and you're just manually importing photos one at a time, those photos can be very large. So you'll want to make sure to try and set the camera, whatever camera you're using, to make an image that's 30 to 75K per color photo, or even less if you're using black and white. You'll have to experiment with your camera, and if you don't have a resizing feature, we do have the resizing feature on our quick sheet for importing photos from a photographer, so you can always access that. Now if I want to print the student's photo at this time, I can simply click Print Photo ID, and that takes me to the photo ID page for this student. You can also perform the same steps for importing or taking pictures of individual faculty and staff members. This ends our webinar on the photo module. Thank you for your participation, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email our support team at sysk12help@sysk12.com. Thank you and best of luck.